Welcome to Spirit Call. I'm your host, Jeni, and this is the podcast where I share all about my experiences as a psychic, medium, tarot reader, numerologist, and Kundalini yoga teacher. Find all of the information at my website, jeniduranis.com, but for now, enjoy the show. Hello, welcome to this episode of Spirit Call. I am recording this episode today after a very shocking, eye-opening experience that I had last week at a conference that you may have heard me talk about or seen me share about on social media that I was attending. And unfortunately, I have come home from this conference in the exact opposite position that I wanted to be in. I was very excited to go. I felt very called to go to this conference about physical mediumship, to learn more from people who are publicly practicing physical mediumship. And I went with a very open mind and an open heart to learn as much as I possibly could and to experience the miraculous things that spirit can do in the seance room. And unfortunately, it was life-changing, just not in the way that I had hoped. And so I share my experiences publicly on this podcast because I have a duty to speak the truth, to speak my truth, to share my story, and to stand up for vulnerable people, and to speak for spirit. I serve spirit just as much as I serve my clients, and I need to speak the truth. So, what is this truth, you may be wondering? I don't know exactly where to start, and I hope that I can organize my thoughts in a way that is easy to follow and make sense to people who have not sat in a seance before and to those that have. I don't want to ramble too much. I don't want to be confusing. But it's a very complex situation, and there are so many moving parts involved that I'm kind of panicking that I'm going to make a bit of a mess of this. But let me start from the beginning. Back in June, as you all know, I've shared my experiences at Lilydale and the experiences that I've had in other seances with mediums, physical mediums. And you know from listening to this podcast that I also have started my own circle to develop my own physical mediumship. And from the beginning, I have always taken on the position that I want to learn as much as I possibly can. I'm a lifelong learner. And for me, the only way to really truly learn something is to do it myself, which is why I have started my own circle. And we've only had 8 or 9 sittings. And as I shared in my last episode that I have now removed, we've had really cool stuff happen. But why have I removed it? Because I feel so icky right now. I feel so heartbroken and devastated and embarrassed and heartbroken and disappointed, truly are the best words that I can use. Not in shock. I'm not in shock because I've had red flags all along, but heartbroken. So I've removed anything that I've stated or said on this podcast earlier about physical mediumship because Now that I know what I know about this person that I will not name, I can't speak to any of it comfortably. And so I'm going to continue my quest to learn and experience and develop. But for now, I have to remove any information that might mislead people. So, what the fuck am I talking about here? Let me tell you. I went to what was called the International Physical Mediumship Conference in Albany, New York. I signed up for this back in July, the very first day that they released the spaces, and I sent thousands of dollars in Canadian funds to attend this conference. I booked a week off work. I had to renew my passport. I got all of the things gathered together that were suggested to bring. I packed up my stuff and I drove 4 hours to Albany, New York from my home here in Ontario. And before I left, because you gotta know, when I study something, I don't stop until I have gathered as much information as I possibly can. And even then I continue on, and then I put it into practice and experiment on myself. You have to know that when I set out on this journey to drive there, my request from Spirit was, okay, Spirit, up to this point, I've had very little evidence of my loved ones coming into these seances, and my goal with developing my own physical mediumship has always been to make it about loved ones, not just phenomena, not just a hand banging on a drum, but evidence that it is our loved ones, and allowing them to come so close that people can feel them and maybe even see them. And so when I set out on this trip, I said, Spirit, I'm about to spend a week learning more and sitting with other so-called physical mediums. I want you to show me more, show me the truth, show me where the loved ones are in this world of physical mediumship. And even saying that, it's something that once you get in this crowd, you're almost discouraged from saying that, because many of the mediums will say it's not just about the loved ones, it's about what Spirit is capable of. And you're almost not supposed to say that out loud. So that's red flag number 1, okay? Is that we're supposed to be there to connect with our loved ones, but we're not supposed to ask for them, and we're not supposed to criticize a 2-hour-long session that maybe only has a tiny little bit of evidential information in it. But that's a side note to what I experienced. So I set out, please, Spirit, show me the loved ones, show me the evidence, show me as much as you possibly can. Show me the ways that our loved ones are coming into these situations. I arrived on Wednesday. I was welcomed. I was very excited. The energy was high. We had opening ceremony. We gathered in one of the conference rooms in the hotel, and there were some talks about seance protocols, what to do, what not to do. And off we went to enjoy the rest of our evening, and off to bed early to get a good start on Thursday morning. And right away, to me, the energy was very hectic. Not only were there seances scheduled back to back with different mediums, it was very hard to get to them because of the time. There was a level of stress. Let me put it that way. And there were 3 seances scheduled in one day. So first of all, that is extremely exhausting. But you've paid a lot of money. You want to get the most out of it. So day 1, red flags, concerns. This seems like a lot. It's a lot of pressure. I'm very sensitive. I hold a lot of energy in my body. I have to have lots of downtime and outside time to process my experiences. I like to journal about them after, and everything seemed go, go, go. Like we had no time. Day 2 was the 3 seances. Still, I'm a little bit overwhelmed. Day 3, there was an opportunity for me to pay for an extra seance with the particular physical medium that I would like to expose in this podcast episode. So I was given the opportunity to have an extra seance on the Friday, and then my regularly scheduled seance with him as part of my package was on the Saturday. And that day, again, I woke up and I felt my question for spirit coming back into my mind. Please show me the evidence. This person has well, I guess it's hard to say what his reputation actually is, because there's 2 sides of the coin with this particular medium. He has a very dark past, I think. There's allegations from the past, from back in 2016 or 2018, I believe. There's a video that's been circulated. But currently in the United States, this person has a very good reputation of being a psychic surgeon, a healer, a spiritual healer, a physical medium that can produce amazing materializations of spirit, on and on and on. And I've been in this person's workshops before, and they're very engaging and very educational. But my question was, where is my loved ones? Where are our loved ones in these seances? So I sign up for the extra seance. I enter the room. It's very hectic. The medium's circle leader is running around frantically trying to get everything organized. There is not a sense of calm and peace and preparing the space with reverence like you would expect and like we are taught to do. We are, we're just sort of thrown into the room, and she's trying to get everything done herself. And I'm starting to have some uneasiness that this medium's going to come into this room and it's not going to be prepared for him, and it's going to make it stressful for him. And I'm the type of person who likes to help. And I think often this inserting myself where help is needed personality trait that I have, it pays off because I end up with sort of a backstage view to things, not on purpose. It just happens. And in this particular case, it happened. And during seances, we play music, but the cell phone or the device that the music is coming from that emits light needs to be out of the room. So there was not even a Bluetooth speaker or anything for this medium. Somebody ran up to the room and got a Bluetooth speaker, and because it was a little bit finicky and there's an age gap between myself and many of the people in these seances, I thought, I'm young, I can handle this thing. I'll be in charge of the music, because the circle leader can't do all of it. Turning on and off the red lights, instructing sitters what to do when spirit speaks. Operating the music on top of that would be pretty challenging. So this gives me the seat closest to the medium in the cabinet. And that means I'm also in charge of the level, the volume of the speaker. And so I also realized during this seance that when you are in charge of something, you're much more aware of what's happening with the medium, with the circle leader. You're not sort of just in this, fuzzy state of looking for spirit in the dark. You have to stay present. And so that's what I did. I wanted to do a good job. I wanted to do it right. I'm a perfectionist. I want to do everything right, and I don't want to screw anything up for somebody, and I take this very seriously. So here I am. I'm in charge. The medium enters the room or enters the cabinet, sits in the, or gets patted down. That's first. This medium shows up to seances in a jumpsuit. It's like one of those fuzzy, zippered, with a hood and pockets on the front, like you would see on a hoodie, where you can put your hands in front of your stomach. So it's zippered and it's thick, and this medium wears this jumpsuit over top of their clothing, I believe. You can see that there's clothing underneath. There's a t-shirt definitely underneath, and I don't know if he's wearing pants or not, but you can see kind of the outline of a waistband underneath this jumpsuit. And then he has socks on, and then over top of his socks, he wears thicker, really thick socks. So he comes into the room, he's already wearing his jumpsuit, he's not wearing his socks, he allows someone to search the socks, he's patted down, and then sits in the chair and gets zip tied around wrists and ankles in the chair. And the patting down process, I just have to say, is usually done to determine if this person has anything hidden in their clothing. But a red flag there is that we're not touching the person's crotch. Nobody is asking them to pull down their pants and show us what's going on in there. So, even though in everyone's minds, this person has been searched, in reality, they haven't. They haven't been fully searched. And at a conference like this where everyone was already a believer, there were only 3 people out of the 90-some people that attended that had never been in a seance. I think when we see this person getting patted down, we're like, yep, this is routine. We trust them. It's all good. And let's get this seance started. So he's zip tied. He's apparently searched. And the circle leader then shuts the tent that he's in, so zips it up. It's a shower tent that you would bring to the beach or camping or something like that. She zips it up and out go the lights. And at this particular seance, as soon as the lights went out, apparently the medium was entranced and spirit was already present. And what I've noticed with this medium after 5 seances is there is a signature, what I am now calling a tent tornado at the beginning of every seance. This is where the tent or cabinet lifts up, it spins, there's chaos inside of this thing. Just imagine like being in a tent and flailing around, what that would sound like and look like. But of course, we're in the dark. As soon as the lights go out and I turn up the music, the routine tent tornado happens. And at this time, this was the third, 1, 2, 3. This was my 4th experience of the tent tornado in a seance. And my brain starts to think to Jeni, to herself, why is this happening? Why is this the signature, calling card that spirit is here? And we've been told in the past by this medium that this is spirit establishing the energy, that there's often a loud bang or a lot of movement, and it's spirit grabbing hold of the energy that we've provided in the seance so that they can manifest themselves. But what I've come to learn is this tent tornado is actually the medium getting out of the zip ties with all of that extra clothing. I'm sure it's a lot easier than we think to just sort of yank your hands out or who knows exactly how. But this is the medium getting out of the zip ties immediately. And I would even say potentially this is when his clothing is being removed. Because what I've seen and what I will tell you moving on is that I have seen him definitely topless. I don't know about pants. I don't want to know if he's wearing pants, but he's walking around with much of his clothing removed. So the tent tornado, I believe this is when he's getting out of his restraints. I believe this is when his clothing is being removed. Then we typically hear the zipper of the tent open, and then moments later, cool breezes begin. We start to speak about what we're experiencing. It's really cold in here. I feel a breeze. And by this medium, we've been taught that when you feel a cool breeze, it's not actually wind going by you. It's actually spirit taking energy from you. So it's a suction feeling rather than a blowing feeling. But now I know this is the medium coming out of the cabinet and waving a shirt around as he has been seen in previous videos doing. So the cool breezes begin, and shortly after that, I believe we are all touched on the knee by a hand. And so it usually goes around in a circle, touching each person on the knee. And keep in mind, we're told as soon as we hear a zipper sound, we must hold hands so that we know who's touching who. And if we're all holding hands, then we know that we're not touching our neighbor's knee. So that's the protocol there. So we're all holding hands and we each get touched on the knee. And so you hear the person beside you say, I'm being touched on the knee. And then the next person says, I'm being touched on the knee. Of course, because I was sitting right beside the cabinet, I was first. So I speak up, I'm being touched, the next person, and so on and so forth. And in this seance, I'm not sure exactly how many people were there, but it was about 20 people, 15 to 20. So everyone's been touched. That ends. I hear the rustling of the tent beside me, and I hear the zipper, and then I hear Jimmy, the so-called trance guide, begins to speak and says hello to us all. And this is my cue to turn the music off. So I do. Jimmy asks us what we want to see. He says he can put in a request to the spirit team about what we want to see. And the circle leader suggests that we see William. And I don't know who William is, but I'm intrigued. And other people say, I would like to see my loved ones. And I say, I would like to see an ectoplasmic head because I've heard that this is a thing. And Jimmy goes back and says, okay, I'll assess the energy. There's a bit more tent tornado, but not as intense. We're often told, okay, talk amongst yourselves, sing, keep the energy up so we can use the energy so the spirit team can do what they want to do. And Jimmy comes back and says, okay, we've assessed the energy. And the next biggest red flag for me, and interestingly, this medium has taught us all as students, the way to spot fraud in a seance is if all of the seances are the same, if it's a routine experience. But of course, knowing that he has said this to us, Jimmy says, we don't want to repeat ourselves and do what we have done already here this week, but we don't want anyone to be jealous. And we're going to do the same thing so no one's jealous. And so everyone, of course, we're just so blessed that Spirit's here to see us and they're going to show up and we're going to hopefully hear from loved ones. And we've heard from people in previous seances that there was a head and, we're just excited and thankful. So we continue to sing, we continue to build the energy. And before you know it, Jimmy is requesting that the circle leader turn on the red light to a very dim level. And that is because William is going to make an appearance. And we're told that William is an ectoplasmic mass that is taken from the medium's body and formed into a head. And it's going to emerge for a short time from the cabinet so that we can see it. But first, it has to be in very dim light so that we can test the conditions. It can't come out full red light because we want to make sure the energy's right. Like this is the story behind this thing. So low light, zipper opens. It's very dark in the room, but I'm very close, so I can see there's some movement here, and there's a round-ish object coming out, and we're told that's William. It's the shape of a head, but you can't see much detail. It goes back in, the zipper shuts, and Jimmy comes back and asks the circle leader to increase the light. This happens a total of, I believe, 3 times. And each time more and more light, so therefore more and more people can see in more and more detail. By the 3rd time, we have full red light in the room, so quite bright. You know, it's a completely dark room, but if you can imagine a salt lamp on full blast with a red light bulb inside of it, which, by the way, was not his red light. He did not come prepared with his own red light. He was using a different medium's light. So not only no speaker, but no light. So this red light is on full blast, and we can see this head. And I have to tell you, this thing is terrifying. And nobody in the room wants to say it. It is an old man, wrinkly, bald head that is quite large. It's larger than a normal head, and it has an extreme amount of wrinkly detail everywhere, around the eyes, around the nose. The nose is huge. The wrinkles even extend around to the back of this thing, and it's terrifying. But at the same time, we're all thinking, well, this is spirit. Spirit would never hurt us. Spirit doesn't want to scare us. It must just be that they're not very good at making a better looking face than this. So, you know, we got to just go with it. But here we're being told this is William. And William, the story behind him is that he is a combination of many different features of many different men that were in attendance during the first seance that he appeared. I believe this is the correct story. That he appeared one day, and because there were men in the room, he took images or memories, I've heard both, from these men's features, kind of like globbed them all together, and this is the face that we are given. And William actually doesn't look like this. He didn't look like this in real life, but he's sort of a ectoplasm magician who is working with the features that he can. And so, sorry if he's terrifying looking, but that's why. And so your heart's kind of pounding, and it's very eerie and kind of ominous, I have to say. And yet we're all there with an open heart, and no one wants to criticize anything. A couple people say, oh, he's kind of creepy. And then I'm witnessing this head, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't know. I see the neckline of this thing looks like a mask to me. Something's not right here. The way that it ends, I would think if this was ectoplasm, like we're being told, that it should be wispy, it should be flowy, it should be ethereal and white and glowy. And this thing is like raunchy and skin colored and just like, ugh. And the neckline just sort of ends as a Halloween mask would end. And then you see this arm going up into it. And again, people on the other side of the room would not have the view that I had. So everyone is believing this, I think, but me. Or if there's someone who didn't believe this, they're not speaking up, and they have overridden their alarm system in their mind that says something's not right here. Because I'm certain other people are on board with me, but they are choosing not to see it or can't see it despite the warning signs being there. And we can't get into how powerful the mind is, but essentially it's very easy to override those signals in a space where we're being told that it's a loving, kind, high vibration space to be in. So nobody wants to be the one to question that. And that's what's really scary about spiritual circles. So anyway, here's the neckline of this head, William. And we are told William looks like this because he's the combination of all these features, but eventually, and this is coming from Jimmy, the trance guide, eventually he will be able to take on the features of our loved ones. So, as he learns to work with the energy, because he was coming out and you could see a tongue and the mouth was moving, and the circle leader was saying, yes, we can see that you're trying to speak, and we see that you're trying, good job. This is how we're speaking to this fucking Halloween mask. I can't believe I'm even sharing this. So, we're told eventually he's going to be able to take on the features. Our loved ones are going to be able to step into this. He's sort of like a template. He's like it's like a mask that they can put on to show us their face. And then Jimmy said, and eventually there will be an ectoplasmic voice box that is formed, and you will be able to hear your loved ones speak. And I asked the question, okay, where will that voice box be located? Will it be sort of like hovering above the head, or will it be in the mouth of this head? And I was told it'll be right in the mouth. It'll be just like your loved one is speaking. And I'm thinking, well, that's pretty darn cool if that's possible, but I don't want to say anything, but this looks fucking strange. Like, this is not right. This is not right. And my whole body is saying it's not right. Pay attention. Just look at the neckline of this thing and look at how there's an arm in it. Like, okay, so I'm still wanting to be positive at this point. The head goes back in. We don't see it again in this seance. Jimmy speaks very much as if everything that we're doing is an experiment. So often the words that he uses is, for this next experiment, this is what we need you to do. So I can't remember the exact order of things, because it's, for anyone that's ever been in a seance, it's very hard to remember everything in the order that it happened. But the reason I'm recording this so soon after these experiences is so that I don't forget. So the other experiments that we did have in that seance on the Friday were, we were told to open the tent for 15-second increments. And of course, Jimmy would not be able to speak during this experiment because there was going to be ectoplasm coming out of the medium's mouth. So the circle leader was instructed, when you hear 3 knocks, open the tent. You can view the medium for 15 seconds, then close the tent and wait for 3 more knocks. So we hear the knocks, the tent is opened with a volunteer. So there's a volunteer standing on one side of the tent and the circle leader on the other side. And we're all allowed to sort of step around in front and look at the medium. So the tent is opened. There is what I would call a tea towel or a t-shirt. I'm not sure exactly because the lighting was low, but it was a white light flashlight for this experiment. And this is hanging out of the medium's mouth. The medium's head is tilted forward, and he is essentially chewing on this fabric that is white and sort of, like doing like chewing, like he's either like taking it out or taking it in. I don't know what he was trying to do there, but he was just chewing on this fabric, and it was white. And so the circle leader's counting 15 seconds, then she closes it. And then we hear 3 knocks again, opens the tent, and the fabric is now red. And we are told by the circle leader that the spirit team has taken the red pigment out of the red light that was provided, and has turned this ectoplasm red. So this is the experiment. We're going to show you how we can work with ectoplasm and make it different colors. So now it's red. 15 seconds goes by. We close it. We wait for another 3 knocks and open the tent. And now this cloth is white again. And it's folded up differently. You can see seams on it, like from a sewing machine. It's white again. And we're supposed to be like, oh, wow, look, it changed color. And so that's the end of that experiment. And the tent is zipped up and we all go back to our seats. And then I'm trying to think of what else we experienced in that seance. Another thing that I forgot to mention at the very beginning is 2 people's chairs were tipped back around the time that the hand touched everyone on the knee. The chairs were tipped back. And so, you're just sitting in a normal chair and suddenly it's going backwards. And we're supposed to believe that is spirit, like, levitating us, and look how strong they are if they can do this. How amazing. So that happened to 2 people that were right beside me. And I don't know if I mentioned, but the hand that goes around and assesses everybody, the story there is it touches everyone on the knee, and it is to assess the energy and to assess who the jumpy people are in the room. And the explanation we've been given by this medium outside of the seance is that hand is looking for the jumpy people. And if there's someone in the room who could potentially be a risk to the medium, like if they're too jumpy and they might hit whatever's touching them, spirit will avoid that area in the room because they don't want to put the medium at risk. So that's the purpose of the hand that goes around. They're checking to see who are the jumpy people. And I just think that's a very convenient explanation, that it's for the medium's protection, that spirit's not going to go there, and that they're even assessing that way. I mean, it seems common sense that spirit would want to protect the medium, but I think it's all strategically put together so that spirit knows, aka the medium knows, where not to go in the room, because he might get touched by someone who's afraid. So, we have the ectoplasm t-shirt. We also had the tent lift up, and there was another piece of fabric that was sort of dancing along the floor. I could see very clearly that it had seams. At first I thought it was like a linen or a silk type of fabric, but then the circle leader pointed out that it was t-shirt fabric. And I was like, oh yeah, right. It is just a t-shirt dancing on the floor. Very clearly, I could see the seams. I have very good eyesight. I can see in the dark very well. And this was in red light, I believe. So nothing was fooling me at this point. So I've definitely, given you these details out of order, but it is what it is, because more memories come back as I'm explaining it. And because I've been to so many in such a short period of time, it's hard to remember the order, but I do remember all of the details of the experiments themselves. So then typically what happens is now we have a hand emerging from the tent, and it's usually about shoulder height. We are told to pay attention to this hand and watch it because it rotates 360 degrees. How miraculous. And the first time that I saw this hand in October, I did believe that that's what I was seeing. I did believe that it was rotating in a complete circle, and therefore that's how we know it's not attached to a body. And that was something that, going into this seance, I thought, I want to witness that again. I want to study that a little bit more, because I just sort of accepted what I was being told there. And so sure enough, here comes this arm again. The circle leader has mentioned, look, it's rotating 360 degrees. And when in fact it was not. It would rotate as far as it could go one way and then stop and go back the other way to give the impression that that's what's happening. So we are told by Jimmy that we can ask for some volunteers that would like to come up and touch this hand. The explanation for this hand is that it's either going to be the hand of your loved one, the hand of your guide, or one of the spirit team of the mediums, because they can't always give you your loved one. If you don't recognize this hand, it's okay. It's either your guide or one of our team members, and you just sort of have to be okay with that. But hopefully you'll recognize it. And so volunteers go up and touch the hand one by one. And keep in mind, there are strict protocols that are supposed to be followed in these seances. No clapping, no stomping, no dancing type movements. You're supposed to sit very still and just sing. And we're all witnessing the circle leader clapping, dancing, moving. And so red flags. We're all sort of a little bit worried, to be honest, because this is supposed to protect the medium. So everyone's worried. Everyone is worried for the medium because it's going against what we've been told, and it's going against what was given to us in written form as the protocols that we need to follow. So people are coming up to touch this hand that I also experienced in October. And another red flag for me at the time was I don't recognize this hand. And not only do I not recognize it, but it feels and looks like the hand of the medium. And again, my brain is saying the energy emitting from this hand, the way that it's so very solid, the hair, the shape of the fingers, the shape of the arm, looks like the medium that I've been hanging out with for 2 days. It's but you're in the dark. So you question yourself and you're being told it's one of those three options. So again, I went to this seance with that question in mind, that I wanted to, if I had the chance to touch this hand again, is it the same hand? Is it different this time? Do I recognize it? All of those questions that everyone should be having as they walk up to the tent. So the volunteers get to touch it. Some of them are crying, some of them are talking. Then we're told, oh, lucky everyone, the energy is high enough that you all get to come touch the hand. And so one by one, we go around the circle, we all get to go up. And again, I have to remind you, I am sitting right beside the tent and I am in charge of the music, so I'm paying very close attention. So I witnessed 20-ish people come up, touch this hand, crying, talking. And what was different this time is that the whole tent would hug people. The whole tent would move and shift. The arm would pull the person in closer. But meanwhile, more description here. It's the tent zipper is open just enough for the arm to come out. And people are going up just to hold this arm that we are instructed, don't yank on it, because you don't want to hurt spirit and you don't want to hurt the medium. Don't yank on this arm when you come up. This is what the guide tells us. So everyone's gently touching it. And then suddenly the whole tent is embracing you. And you can feel, oddly, this is what I experienced, a warm, naked body on the inside that hugs you. There's a whole other arm on the inside that you don't see, but you feel. And you're sort of, pulled in to be embraced, and you can feel a body. You feel a whole body on the inside of the tent. And this is after the very odd experience of touching a hand that is slimy. Now, the explanation that we've been given in workshops and outside of the seance is that ectoplasm is black. When light is added, it turns white. And if the ectoplasm, whatever it's been molded into, whether a hand or a face, if it is sticky and slimy, that's because it's coated in photoplasm. And so if you are touched by it or you're touching it, it will be slimy. And so you go up and reach for this hand that is warm and clammy and slimy, and it sort of smears it all over you. And in my case, touched my face. It smeared this substance all over my face and then pulled me in and embraced me. And I'm saying, thank you so much, Spirit. Thank you so much, because that's what I'm supposed to say. And then I go and sit down, and I'm just alarm bells, because, I felt this hand before, questioned it. This time it's the same hand that I remember quite vividly from October. And it's so slimy that you really just, it's such an intense experience that all of your faculties of being able to analyze what just happened are firing. And you go sit down, and next thing you know, someone else is having their experience. So you don't want to be like, you can't stop and think. But I smelled it, and it didn't smell good. I got a strong whiff of like a man's deodorant or cologne or aftershave or shaving cream type smell that came from the tent, from this arm that I'm holding. It wasn't super, super strong. I shouldn't say it was super strong, but it was enough that it didn't feel like someone was just sitting there. It felt more up in my face. Do you know what I mean? So, and then I kind of continued to feel this substance that's been smeared on my face and hand, and asked myself the question, what is this? And I sort of felt it be absorbed into my face and evaporate at the same time. It wasn't there for too long, under a minute, and it sort of was gone, and then you sort of, like wipe it off. So that was my hand experience. And everybody in the room in red light was blessed by materialization after materialization of a hand of whoever's hand it is. And then we have a final experiment. Once this is all done, the trance guide comes back and says, okay, we got one more experiment to do. And of course, there are times for questions, and some people are saying, like, I didn't recognize the hand. Why? And then, of course, the answer is given, because it was probably one of our team members. Don't worry about it. They're healing you, or whatever they're doing. You have to just like be okay with the fact that you don't recognize the hand. And people would accept that answer. And then the guide requests that the circle leader gets the medium's balls. And this is the joke that we're becoming accustomed to, that the guide is asking for these glow-in-the-dark balls, or they're about tennis ball, maybe slightly smaller sized balls that need to be charged up by light ahead of time. So they are tucked away in a zippered pouch, and we are asked, okay, can we have the medium's balls, please? And everyone laughs. And these balls are thrown into the middle of the room on the floor. Maybe I shouldn't say thrown, they're placed in the middle of the room on the floor. So everyone is now focusing on these balls. And I'm turning up the music a little bit. I'm paying attention to make sure I'm doing it right. And then you hear the zipper of the tent open. Now it's in complete darkness because of the balls. So all of the light is off. The zipper opens, and suddenly the balls are being picked up by so-called spirit, and they are moving around the room in unison together about 2.5, 3 feet apart, maybe 2 feet apart at about elbow height. They move around the room and go close to some people so that they can see there's a hand holding this. So, wow, how intelligent. Spirit can form a hand, pick up a ball, and move it around the room. And then on one occasion, I saw that these balls were drawn closer to the so-called spirit that was holding them, and in a manner that they would reflect light on the body of the spirit person. And so you could see a torso, you could see a chest complete with nipples of like a naked body, a naked young man's white body. And all the way up, I'm going to say, to very close to the neck, almost a chin, but not quite. And then for a short time you see this and it's just astonishing. And everyone is saying, oh, wow. And of course we're all singing and talking, so you're only hearing bits and pieces of other people's experiences. But then these 2 balls are tossed onto the floor in the opposite direction of the tent. So of course everyone is focusing on where they land and almost hoping that they land on them, because it's so wonderful when you get touched by something. And during this time, the so-called medium rushes back to the tent. So this is complete trickery. This is tomfoolery right in front of our eyes. And so many of these innocent people are believing every second of it. And then, of course, there is talk about how the medium's mind is starting to come back after a bit more tornado in the tent, right? Like, don't forget, he has to put his clothes back on. So the music's up, the movements are supposed to be normal, because this is spirit now dissipating the energy so that the medium can start to come back, because he's having such a hard time holding this. You know, these are materializations. This is a very rare phenomena that we are witnessing. And so he's not able to hold this. And so, you know, I don't remember the exact order of operations at this point, but along the lines of quick questions and expected sounds, and then you hear the medium cough. And this reminds me, I have to go back to the hand coming in and out. When the hand comes out, it's covered in that slimy substance, and it goes back in. The zipper is shut, and you hear this like sound. Which to me sounds like snot, like someone essentially blowing their nose, or making a sound to mask maybe another product that's being taken out of a container. I don't know. We're supposed to believe that is the sound of ectoplasm being extracted, and that it makes a suction sound. You hear other mediums talk about that. You can read about it. So that's what we're supposed to believe. But I know that that's not true. It's just the sound of snot or some kind of saliva or some kind of gross product being applied to the hand of this medium and then smeared all over us in the dark, in the red light. And we're told that it's photoplasm and that it's our loved ones in spirit. So, back to the end of this seance, this first seance, suddenly the medium comes back and he's choking. This is his sort of routine, is there's this like very dramatic sounds. I've been told in the past I'm not struggling. Don't worry about me. It's just, the energy leaving and the ectoplasm coming back in. And it's just sort of the nature of the game. Sometimes you have to choke on stuff because of all of this ectoplasm that's come out of my body. So he chokes, he coughs, the music's off. I've turned it off because it's over and we're not building the energy anymore. We're done. We need to protect the medium. We need to sit very still so that he can come back properly and give him time. So the circle leader at this point is checking to make sure he's back, and you'll hear him say, "Yeah, I'm back." And she'll joke with him and say, "No, you're not." And ask him to say a coherent sentence, which, he sort of stumbles on his words a little bit and then eventually tries to say something, and we all sort of laugh and we're just so thankful for what this medium has done for us. And then, eventually we turn on the lights and let him show us that he is still in the zip-tied restraints, still wearing his jumpsuit, and still attached to this armchair. And at this point, anyone is welcome to come up and inspect the zip ties. Anyone is welcome to pat him down. Of course, some people do inspect the zip ties and say, "Oh yeah, they're exactly how they were." And then he stands up and sort of very quickly, doesn't anyone want to pat me down, as he's walking out the door? Of course no one wants to pat you down. It's sort of an embarrassing experience, and no one wants to make you think we don't trust you. That's the problem. No one wants to act like we don't trust. So there's sort of a group consciousness about it all, Nobody wants to be the one. So off he goes to get changed. And don't forget, there's workshops to be held, there's conference to be run. And 15 minutes later, after producing all of this phenomena, he's in a workshop teaching 20, 30 people how to do physical mediumship. And I'm in this workshop. And I'm there with him, and my mind is saying he should be exhausted. How is it that he's doing all this? He should be wiped. Yet he's doing a 2-hour workshop and assessing people's energy, and, I have to say, comes across very knowledgeable. But the problem is, now that I know that there's fraud happening, I have to throw out everything he's ever said. Because a lot of what he's saying in his workshops are him covering his tracks in his fraudulent seances. So I urge you, if you have studied with this person, if you've received training, and you're sitting in your own circle and trying to develop to these extremely out of proportion standards that are not possible, please just let everything go that you've ever heard this person say, because much of it is lies or truth coded in lies to make his seances seem real. So this is my experience in seance number 1, and I'm only halfway there. So I'm going to speed up seance number 2, but it's actually in seance number 2 that I connect most of the dots. And so the one I just told you about was the red flag seance, or it was red flag seance number 2, because I had already had red flag seance in October. This was red flag seance number 2. Then I do the workshop. And I came out of the workshop feeling really shitty about myself. Like, the thing that I've noticed when I'm around this person outside of seances is that there's a distance. You can't get close to this person. This person doesn't make eye contact well. there's not a lot of personal sharing going on. There's not a lot of, getting to know this person. And you sort of think, well, this person is, so many people are demanding his energy and he must be exhausted. And so you try to be respectful of that. But red flags all over the place in that way as well, that there's this emitting energy of, don't you dare ask me about myself. And it's, I wouldn't say it's subtle, but I think that it's mixed in with, I'm a healer. I help people every day. So it's very contradictory, and I'm really good at feeling that type of shit. I do this for a living. I get to know people, and I work with people and their energy, and in psychic readings, in their responses to things, and I feel the energy around people and other people, and this is what I do. And so many times around this person, I feel silenced. I feel the energy is very quietly but intensely intimidating. And I have a history myself of, when I'm around someone like that, especially if they are a knowledgeable person or somebody who, has more experience than me, I tend to think, well, I must be shitty. I must just really suck at this. Maybe I shouldn't even be doing this. Maybe I'm a loser. Maybe there's so much that I don't even know, and I'm just in the wrong place, and I shouldn't even be here. So I sort of internalize somebody like that and think it must be me. But when I step back and take the personal, my insecurities out of it, I would always come back to, no, this person is pushing me away. This person doesn't want me to ask questions. This person is not comfortable around me. And this goes into something else that I want to bring up. This person is constantly advertising that they do one-to-one training. And I asked for June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. 10 months I messaged this person on and off asking for training, and they didn't respond until about a week before the conference. I was given the opportunity to book a Zoom call and ask questions about physical mediumship. And I've heard from so many people that you reach out, you don't get a response, and yet he's advertising every day almost. Get training with me. So people reach out and nothing comes back. Or he's advertising psychic surgery healings this day, this time, and people reach out and they don't get anything back. So it's another red flag, and it makes you think, well, I must be shitty and he must know that I'm shitty and doesn't even want to touch this. You know what I mean? It makes me feel, or it made me feel, but I've expressed this to all my friends. I've expressed this to my home circle that listen, there's this person who claims to know a lot of stuff. Red flag, he won't train me. This is why I started my own circle, was nobody would respond to me. And I think it's because they know that I can see through their bullshit. And Hannah from Mediumship Matters podcast has said that to me in the past as well. She's like, Jeni, of course they're not going to train you. You'll see through their shit. And I wasn't super willing to believe that, but I knew that to be true. So that's why I started my own circle. So backing up, okay? Again, I really didn't want to go all over the place and ramble, but you kind of have to in this situation. I've been in red flag seance number 2. I was in charge of the music. I didn't mean to be in charge of the music. That was not my intention. I was just sort of put in that place, and I'm going to say I was put there by spirit. The next day, I wake up. I feel really shitty about myself because I'm feeling this energy of, you suck. Why are you even here? I could be making that up, but I tend to fixate on it. I'm asking my guides for guidance. I'm like, spirit guides, where are you? I feel crappy about myself. I feel like I'm not getting the, I don't want to say validation, but like, encouragement that I'm doing things properly and well. Spirit, please help me, because I always go back to spirit. If I want to learn something, I say, spirit, teach me. But I just was feeling shitty about myself. So I say to spirit, help me. And immediately I have the message of take your power back. And so I set the intention, okay, today I take my power back. And then I always pull a card for myself for the day in the morning, and I pull a card, and I got the Hierophant card. And this to me is my card. It's very much connected to my numerology, blah, blah, blah. I could go on forever. And it's the card of the spiritual teacher. And I think, oh, that's interesting. It's telling me to just get back in my power as who I am. And spirit says to me, no, it's different today. Today, this card means to analyze your spiritual teachers, to pay attention, to look at what's right in front of you. And I was like, wow, okay. I kind of did that yesterday, but today's the day. Okay. So interestingly, I'm still a little bit like wishy-washy in my emotions, and we're sitting at the table and this medium sits beside me and we're eating lunch and I said, I just feel like you think that I'm shitty and that I shouldn't even be here and that I suck. And I'm sharing this part of the story because I'm sure that it's going to come back, that I'm butthurt about something because I said that. So that's why I'm sharing it, because I'm sure there's going to be all kinds of ways that people attack me after this. But this person, I think I was trying to get closer to that person by opening up and saying, like, listen, I know it's probably not true, but I just feel shitty about myself today. I feel like I shouldn't even be here, or like you think, why the fuck is Jeni here? That's what I said. And when I tell you the look of shock on this person's face, oddly, someone was sitting at the table who was sort of documenting the conference with her camera, took a photo of this moment in time, and I saw it today. And when I look back at the photo, it confirms just this look of shock as I'm sitting there with tears in my eyes. And the essence emanating from this person was, oh fuck, don't cry. It was like, ew. When someone's not comfortable with tears. Yet this person is supposed to be a spiritual healer, a psychic surgeon, helping people with cancer, fixing people's hearing so that they don't need hearing aids, taking away tumors. Like, this person should have empathy. And he just looked at me like, ugh. And then very quickly, someone needed him and he got up and walked away in the middle of this conversation. So, what did I expect to happen there? I don't know. I think I was trying to get closer to be more on a emotional level and more connected to this person who is, bringing all these teachings to everyone. And it didn't happen. And I was not surprised because, like I said, I've already known that that's not what you're going to get from this person. But at that moment, the take your power back and analyze your spiritual teachers just sort of like dropped right into me. And I felt, this is what Spirit's talking about. This is what my guides are talking about. It's this person. So, wouldn't you know that I have another seance today with that person? Same room, same scenario. We all start arriving and it's complete chaos. And everyone in the room, I think, was noticing that this is not being conducted the way it's supposed to be. The people beside me were definitely noticing. They were getting stressed because they were worried about the medium. And once again, the medium does not have a speaker for the music. And the same woman runs up to her room to get her speaker again, brings it to me, and I end up in charge of the music again. The tent is brought in for the medium. The chair is brought in. The woman carrying the chair is close to 80 years old. And for whatever reason, she's trying to do all of this for this young man. And this young man has nobody else. So, of course, I take the chair from her. It's not right. This chair is heavy. She's trying to drag it by herself. And like I said, I'm the step up kind of person. I'm not going to sit here and watch this woman carrying this chair by herself. It's not right, you know? So I'm the one setting up the tent, putting the chair in the tent, getting the music going, waiting for the medium to come in so that we can get the Bluetooth hooked up to the phone. The tent is put, the chair is in the tent, and then we realize he doesn't like that tent. He wants the blue tent with the very solid silver coating on the inside. So these tents, there's, you can get a black one, but I would think that if you shine light on it, you'll still be able to see the silhouette of the person inside the tent, because it's just like a windbreaker type material, like a tent. But the other tent, the blue one, has this silver lining, and he prefers this one. So we take the black one out, put the silver one in, and I know that this is my opportunity to ask questions, to analyze in more detail. And I have to say, it was not my plan to be in charge of the music. It was not my plan to go in there. Actually, my plan was to not be in charge of the music. I wanted to sit somewhere that I could just pay attention. But, when I just did it the day before, it makes sense that it's me. So I decided that I wanted to inspect this chair, even though I'm aware that the chair was one of the chairs from the hotel conference dining room. I saw the exact chairs over there, so I know he didn't bring this with him. It's just from the hotel. So that makes it seem a little bit more legit, doesn't it? It's a low back armchair with a pillow velcroed or sort of permanently fixed onto this chair. And if you went to the dining room, you could sit in the same one. But just because I want to check things myself, I feel under the chair to make sure there's nothing stuck to it or anything like that. I feel all around it. I lift up the pillow. It's, there's nothing in it. So, in comes the medium wearing the jumpsuit. The medium comes over to the tent and sees that I'm standing there and I'm holding the speaker and I'm waiting for him to hook up the Bluetooth. And I say, I just want you to know, I'm not trying to put myself in this position, but I did it yesterday, so it just makes sense that it's me. I hope that's okay. I was sort of asking for permission. And he looks at me and he says, "Oh, you were in here yesterday." And I said, "Yeah, I paid for an extra one yesterday, and this one is part of my, part of my schedule." And he just looked at me and he said, "Why?" Why? And again, the essence was like, "Yeah, you know?" And I want to say, I'm not sharing this story because it feels personal. It's not personal. I don't care if he likes me or not. But these red flags, it should be, oh, thank goodness you're here. You did the music yesterday. This makes it so much easier and less stress for me. Right? That's how I would react. But he was like, "Oh, why?" And I said, "Because it's you. Of course I would want to be here." Knowing full well that I'm going to learn a lot in this in this particular seance. So, with everything that I've already said, the seance begins. The phone is outside of the room. I'm in charge of the music. This time I decide I'm going to keep it low so I can hear even more. And there are 33 people in this seance, which means the room is more full, which means I am very, very close to the tent this time. And I have to say, for anyone listening to this, the next time you go to this medium's seance, I'm sure that he's going to learn a lot about what not to do by me sharing this, because this is how I caught him, is by being so close. It's by being there 2 days in a row. It's by using his own advice of always feel for the presence of spirit. It's by remembering his advice that a fraud when the seance is identical to the last seance. And that's what I experienced in this seance. Pretty much identical. Not every experiment was the same, because he couldn't tip chairs back because there was not enough room to get out and walk around me. He didn't do the fabric dancing on the floor, and he didn't do the ectoplasm t-shirt or tea towel in the mouth. He didn't do those experiments. But what he did do is bring William back. And this time we had a photographer in the room, and this woman goes around to different seances and tries to capture different images of the phenomena and the ectoplasm, and searching for the perfect picture of spirit. And I actually think that she is innocent in all of this. I don't think that she knows what I know, but she was in the room and hoping to get a photo if she had permission, but she didn't have her camera in her lap or anything like that. It was off to the side. And so, as per usual, the tent tornado happens. The hand comes out and assesses everyone. And then the Jimmy speaks. And he says, "What would you like to see today? And does anyone have any questions?" And I said, "Yes, I do have a question. Yesterday when I was here and William, the head, emerged from the tent, I felt that the neckline of this head was formed in such a way that it made me question if it was just a mask. And so, Spirit, I ask that you please, if William shows up today, please shape the neckline differently. Is that possible? Because I'm having a hard time believing in William. And that would be a very easy way to show me otherwise." And as usual, the trance guide says, "We'll put in a request to the spirit team, see what we can do." So, we continue on. The music goes up, we sing. We're notified that, once again, we don't like to repeat ourselves, but we don't want anyone to be jealous. We're going to do the same thing that we did yesterday. And alarm bells are going off in my head. Out comes William in first low light, then brighter, then full light. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm much closer this time. I can really analyze the details of this head. It looks like a mask. If anyone is interested, send me an email and I will send you a photo or really an Amazon link to what I feel is, I'm about 95% certain it's the same mask. It's a Halloween mask of an old wrinkly man. The reason that I know, well, one is because I was so close I could study it, but the neckline is very unique. Like I said, it's, if nothing else, just look at the neck. Everyone's looking at the face. Everyone's looking at the mouth and the eyes, and there aren't any eyes, by the way. It's just blank. Everyone's looking at the features of the face because it's supposedly trying to speak, but I'm looking at the neck and this hand this arm that's going up in it. So I asked Spirit, please change it. It comes in and out 3 times. And then I'm thinking, I guess Spirit's not going to change it. It goes back in, and this is literally the moment of truth. It starts to emerge again from the cabinet in light. It swings over in my direction. Now remember, I'm sitting very close, an arm's length away. It comes very close to my face, and then a shoulder, a whole arm, a chest starts to come out of the cabinet and sort of ominously move so very close to me, standing up above me. I'm sitting in a chair. This is standing up above me and looming over me in an intimidating way. I see nipples. I see a young man's body with an old man's Halloween head on top. I'm saying, wow, look at that. Oh my gosh. I'm notifying everyone in the room that I can see an arm and a shoulder, and I even see a chest, because that's what you're supposed to do. And the whole tent walks over to me. There's a whole pivot in my direction, which conveniently shielded a lot of people from seeing what I saw, because I was on the side and sort of tucked around. But the person beside me, I'm sure, saw what I saw, and I'm not going to say anything about her, but she knows what I know, or she's on the way to knowing what I know. So now I'm like, my heart is pounding. That was terrifying. This scary old man's head on a young man's body goes back in, and back comes Jimmy, and Jimmy says, "Ms. Music Player." And I say, "Yes." And he says, "Are you satisfied with that?" And I'm not. And I wanted to say, "No, I don't understand why you showed me a young man's body with an old man's head." But I was afraid. And I don't want to end the seance by questioning too much, because then you take away everyone else's opportunity to potentially hear from their loved ones. So I said, well, I do have another question. And then I stopped myself, because that very same energetic pulse hit me that I have felt multiple times, which was, don't you dare ask a question. And I said, "Oh, never mind. I'll keep it to myself, but it's positive." And I sort of left it at that. I wanted everyone to know that I saw something different. The neckline was definitely different, but that it was a positive experience, which it was not. And I regret saying that it was. So, among all of the other things that happened in this particular seance, the key points are this. The photographer was allowed to take multiple photos of this head. I'm watching the head as everyone else is looking at the photographer, and people were allowed to come and sit right in front of it, feet away from it, and observe it. And I'm looking at this Halloween mask and these people sitting on the floor just in complete awe. Their eyes were so wide and bright, and And they were just like, wow. These are people who, bless them. The age range, I would say, I'm definitely one of the younger people in this crowd. Many of them were in their 60s. Many of them have lost their parents, their children, their siblings. Many of them truly just want to feel spirit, and they're overriding the signals in their brain that say something's not right here. Because I know, looking at them, watching them observe this head, I can see they're questioning, but it's brief and it's clouded in, I already believe. I've held the hand of my loved one. I already believe. So I believe this too. And my key focus, again, like I keep saying, is on the neck of this thing. And I'm saying to myself, I see an arm, I see a different hand opening and closing the zipper. I already know that this is the medium moving around in the cabinet, but I want to watch the next time this head goes in. Because there were people sitting so close, the tent had to really be held shut around it. And I said, I want to watch this thing go back in. And does it sort of collapse and scrunch up? And the answer is yes. The neck of it scrunches up as it brushes against the tent. It's not dematerializing. It's not ectoplasm. It's not photoplasm. It's not any kind of plasm. It's plastic. It scrunches up as it goes back in the tent. Then we have the whole hand experience. You get to come touch the hand of your loved one that's covered in slimy saliva, spit, whatever it is. Everyone gets to have a chance. Now keep in mind, there's 33 people in the room. I am an arm's length or less away from this tent. There's a light on. There's a red light on the floor in front of the tent. I'm witnessing movement. I'm hearing the shuffling of feet. I'm hearing the chair creaking as the medium gets up and down. I'm witnessing this arm come out that is the same every single time, regardless of the perception of the people coming up. It's the same arm. I'm telling you, it's the same arm. I studied it. I watched it come out. I studied the arm and the hand of the medium before the lights went off. I made a note to feel his thumb, to look at his thumb. It's the same arm, and people are coming up and being embraced and slimed and told, if you don't recognize it, that's okay. It's still meaningful. And the whole tent, like I said, is embracing people. So when this happens, the arm is just out enough that the zipper is tight around it. But when you are embraced by the tent, remember, there's a man standing up inside of it. You feel his body. You are pulled into his naked body. And now, from the angle that I'm at, I'm able to see, I'm at the side of the tent. I'm no longer at the front corner. I'm at the side. And things have shifted after the tornado. And the chair's banging against the wall behind it because he's so pinned against the wall because there's so many people in this room. Each time that the tent embraces a person that's holding the hand, the whole tent moves forward, exposing the chair. Now, I don't mean that the chair is popping out from the bottom. I mean that the tent is wrapping around the chair as it moves forward. And like I said, it's a low back chair. So there should be a head as well of the medium. Because remember, we're told he's in trance. He's zip tied to this chair. He's not moving around. This is ectoplasm. Every time that the tent moves forward, there is no body in the chair. There's no one sitting in the chair. because the medium is standing up, sliming people and hugging them. And remember, I watched this 32 times. One of those times was me holding the hand and studying the shape of the thumb. It's the same hand that I felt twice. It's sliming me. It's disgusting. It's hairy. It has fingernails. It's very solid, and it does this shaking thing for theatrical effect. I've talked about this for an hour and a half now, and there's more. There's still more. So after this whole experience, I know what's up next. I know that the medium's balls are going to be called upon, put on the floor in the middle of the room, and I'm aware that a person is going to have to come out of this tent and pick them up, which means it needs to be dark. So it is dark, and I'm looking for the zipper sounds, because a whole person's going to come out. So when it's just an arm, it's a small zip because it's only enough for an arm to come out. Now, you could argue and say, well, of course it has to be a full, complete zip of the tent because the size of the spirit is a full body. And when it's only an arm, like, you could argue that spirit is bigger, so therefore spirit needs to open up the full zipper. But I think if that's the case, and if spirit is so intelligent they can create William, I would think that they would know where the zipper is. I wouldn't suspect that they would be, or expect that they would be feeling around in the dark for the zipper. And I can hear the sound of this hand looking for where they left the zipper. So, I can hear the chair creaking. Like I said, I can hear everything. And it just so happened to be that the playlist ended up on this very instrumental track. It was like the Harry Potter song was on, and it was really long. And so it's just kind of in the background going, dun, 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 dun. So no one's singing. We're all just sort of like in there. So to my advantage, I can hear these sounds. I can hear the chair, like I said. So out comes a full zip. Out comes the naked medium, does the ball trick, throws the balls on the floor, goes back in the tent. You hear the chair move. Then you have the tornado, and we get to ask questions. And one thing that I thought was really significant, and I hope this woman remembers. I hope that she hears this, and I hope she remembers, because he's in there very quietly putting his clothes back on during this. But she's asking a question about, I don't even remember because I was more focused on the tent, but she was sort of stuttering her question. She couldn't really verbalize it. She couldn't get it out. And she was like, because like if, well, like, and while the medium's getting dressed again and the tornado's already done, I can tell that there's still a few things left to do. Otherwise he would be back by now. The tent does this very significant in her direction, and to me that was like doing up the zipper or putting the arm back in the sleeve, like the final arm. It was so out of place, but it was necessary because the music's off, the music's low, and we're about to end. The music's probably not going to be coming back on. And this medium needs to get back in the zip ties and back in place before the lights come on. So I hope that she hears this, and I hope that she remembers that as odd, because usually when someone's asking a question, spirit is intently listening and has a very intelligent answer. It's not a recording answer, of just like this default answer, but that's what everyone received this time. So, yeah, I just remember thinking, wow, this person's got balls. And I don't mean glow in the dark balls. I mean naked, young man, pale skin, sliming people balls. It's really gross and it's really sad. So, please know that this podcast episode does not come from a place of hate, even though I am super disgusted. It doesn't come from a place of having had any bad experiences personally, other than, like I said, those red flag things. I'm a very accepting person. I try to meet people where they're at. I try to let people be who they are. And I try to be respectful of what people can offer and what they can't. This expose doesn't come from a place of being disappointed by the thousands of dollars that I spent at this conference. It doesn't come from a place of feeling shitty about myself and wishing that I could produce this phenomena myself, because I can't. And I don't think that what this so-called medium did is even possible. It comes from a place of wanting to protect vulnerable people and wanting to protect other mediums who are maybe developing their mental mediumship, that are holding themselves to these standards that are completely unrealistic and damaging. It comes from a place of wanting to protect the people closest to this person who travels all over the world, who is driven around by people, who is fed and given a place to stay. I'm not speaking badly about the other organizers of this conference. The people that I have spoken to about this have asked me if they think that everyone's in on it. Do I think that the circle leader is in on it? Do I think that the organizers are in on it? I don't think so. I think that the person that organized this conference is a loving and kind woman, and I want to protect her. I think that there are many people who have sat with this person in seances who have had experiences of their own that potentially are real. And my reason for believing that is because when we ask spirit to show up, they do. When we sit in a seance room, regardless of if the medium in the cabinet is a fraud, our loved ones come. When we ask them to stand beside us and make themselves known, they do. They are always doing that. And so it makes these experiences extremely complicated to pick apart. Because I have felt my loved ones. I have felt my guides. I have felt spirit in many of these seances. But I know complete nonsense when I see it. And I know my guides were saying, Jeni, you are the one who has to speak up. This is why we brought you here. This is why we put you in the position to witness firsthand with front row seats what's happening here. And I went there a believer. Please understand, I went there with about 90% faith in this person. And I've left with the sad truth that hundreds of people around the world are being abused by these so-called physical mediums. And I also want to say that I'm only speaking of one person. This is only my experience with one of the mediums. I'm not going to say his name. You can probably piece this together yourself. You can also find a video online from the Banyan Retreat Center from, I think it's 2016. If not, it's 2018. There's a video of this person coming out and doing many of the things that I've said. Many, many, many people will defend this person. Many people are going to be upset with me. They're going to unfriend me. I've made probably 40 friends in this world that I consider actual friends, people that I trust, people that I have begun to love, people that I have witnessed wanting to heal and wanting to feel their loved ones. And I know that they are not going to believe me, and that's okay. But I need to protect future people. I need to protect and speak up where other people are not speaking up. And I've had messages since I got home. I've messaged a few people from Canada to warn them, maybe pay attention if you have anything booked, because these are people that I've met at these places. And I've been given the opportunity to hear other stories that they were too afraid to share, but they know the same thing that I know about other mediums, other physical mediums, so-called physical mediums. So, there you have it, folks. There's more, like for anyone listening to this who is upset with me and you strongly believe in your experiences within the seance, you believe that was the hand of your loved one, you believe that you really did feel your loved ones come close, that you were healed by this person, that you were embraced by spirit. If you refuse to believe that was all fake, I want you to consider these other points, okay? If you were at this conference, you saw it too. So, the main piece, like I said, with the protocols of the seance, things were very hectic and the rules were not followed. The circle leader was clapping, dancing, getting up and down. As people were in line to touch the hand, there were people dancing, twirling in circles, swaying their body in big, big movements in the middle of the seance room. This is apparently a seance no-no because the medium's body is extended. The nervous system of the medium is extended out to cover the whole room. And the ectoplasm that's being exuded from the medium's body mixed with this, like the nervous system and the ectoplasm and blah, 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 puts the medium in a very dangerous situation and they could be killed by someone clapping or dancing. And the circle leader is clapping and dancing in 3 seances, 4 seances. I witnessed her as a circle leader in 4 seances, and she did these things in all of them, but the 2 that I'm referring to were the most pronounced. So there's that point. Look at the protocols. If they are breaking their own protocols, you should be questioning. The next point is, if this medium is able to sustain the trance state and spirit is able to extract or use enough of their life force energy to create 33 different precisely shaped hands of 33 different people's loved ones or guides or a team member, if that is true, then I would ask you to ponder, what condition would the medium be in after the seance? We're told by this medium that it's extremely hard on the body. In fact, in one of the workshops that I was in, he mentioned, I think this is sort of a preparing us comment. He mentioned that he might not be public much longer because of the wear and tear on his body. He doesn't know how much longer he can do this. I think combining that with everything I know, that was him preparing us for his disappearance, which I think is going to happen this year or next. So if it is indeed materializations, like remember the head 6 times, the 33 hands, plus the hand that apparently rotates, plus the balls being picked up, plus the hand coming out and touching everyone one by one, all of those things should be extremely exhausting to this medium. And yet he comes out of the seance, sort of putting on a little bit of oh, that was tough, rushes to his room, takes off his jumpsuit, and 15 minutes later, no food, no water, is now in a workshop, a 2-hour workshop, instructing 20 to 30 people, intently assessing their energy. And from there, off to running the rest of the conference responsibilities and staying up past midnight drinking alcohol each night. You all saw this. All of you witnessed this. Why were you not questioning? I do mental mediumship every day as a job. I can do 3 readings before my blood sugar is so low that I'm crashing. I need water. I need food. I need to get outside and ground myself. I don't care how long this person has been doing physical mediumship. That should have completely wiped him out, especially combined with everything we've been taught by this person. I mentioned this to someone who's a firm believer, and she said, well, because he's been doing it since he was 12. Bless her. So those points, right? Not showing up prepared. If this is a serious thing, if people have paid thousands of dollars to come to this conference and be in this seance, I would think that you'd have your own red light and your own speaker. I would think you would be charging that speaker ahead of time. I would think your circle leader knows that she needs to bring that. And if indeed the circle leader just let him down, why doesn't he have a speaker to go get? Why doesn't he have his own red light? Why is he using the other mediums, 2 other mediums' red light? Think about that. Another red flag with this medium is that he tells us that he can't do mental mediumship anymore because Spirit has taken away his ability to do mental mediumship because his energy is better directed towards physical. So, if I walked up to him and said, can you deliver a message from Spirit? He would say, no, I don't have that ability anymore. I've never seen him do it. He's flat out said he used to be able to, and now he can't. So if you're listening to this and you've had a mediumship, an evidential mediumship reading with this person, message me and tell me about it. I've never heard of anyone that's had one. Another thing that he has stated is that he can't do table tipping for the same reason. He used to be able to do it. Spirit told him, don't do that because you're gonna mess with your physical mediumship. He taught a class on spoon bending and psychokinesis, He did not bend a single spoon in the 2-hour workshop. He has been asked about, some people have noticed certain things happening with his legs. And when questioned, he says that spirit's playing with your perception. So, in fact, the leg was there, or that wasn't my foot, but spirit's playing with your perception. So, isn't that kind of dangerous? Isn't that a very dangerous situation to be in? That when you're questioning reality, when you're questioning what you're seeing right in front of your eyes, the answer is, well, that's not what you're seeing. And spirit has the ability to take away what you're seeing. So don't question yourself. Don't do that. The trance guide that speaks during the seances, we've been told that we're not allowed to know many details about his life on Earth before he passed, because he still has living family today. And to respect his living family, Jimmy is not going to give us any information really about like where he lived, when he died. I'm not sure exactly the full story that we're given, but I know that I believe I've heard that he was once an alcoholic, and so he didn't live life sort of on the positive side. And so his reason for coming through is to encourage people to live a healthy life. Meanwhile, this medium is doing seances and then going off to drink alcohol. No judgment if you drink. I'm just bringing up the points, just touching on the points. So, if we can't research Jimmy, if we're not allowed to know much about him, I get that. Like, I think we all sort of accept that answer, that this man has somehow chosen this medium to be his main medium, and he's going to work with him day after day and bless us with philosophical messages of how to live life. But he doesn't want his family to know because they wouldn't believe it. I don't know. It's kind of fishy. It's kind of fishy. Yeah. So I think I've touched on most of the points here. I think that I have covered everything. This is 2 hours that I've been talking. How exhausting. How depressing that I have to do this. How heartbreaking. But, like I said, I'm hoping that this message finds the right people. I'm hoping that if you've had an experience just like this with any physical medium, that you will email me, info@jennyjeranis.com. I'm hoping that if you consider me a friend, that you'll understand that I'm not trying to hurt you and I'm not trying to ruin your magical experiences, and that I'll understand if you continue to believe. And I'm hoping that the people closest that are being taken advantage of are protected. I hope that they do not lose money, that they do not lose faith in humanity once this is exposed. And I don't mean this by my podcast. I mean, he's going to disappear soon. He's going to go off to another part of the world and hide out for a few years and come back. I believe he lives in the UK, but he's been known to live in Australia and spends a lot of time in the States, which I've been told is because he's been sort of cast out of the UK. Nobody wants to work with him there. So, that's it, you guys. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for listening to crazy story of what I experienced. And also, I could still go on. I just have to say, I could continue to share more stories of drama, of fighting, of things going missing, of people being not good humans. There were many bad experiences for many people outside of these experiences that I had. And again, I'm not directing this towards the organizer. She did her best. She's a sweet woman who's being taken advantage of. It's just the ego in this world is huge. The competition is huge. And when people have secrets, it oozes out into the whole experience. When someone is dishonest or trying to hide something, it runs wild. And that's what happened. So at this mark, I will say thank you for listening. Again, please email me. I've had to come home and message my home circle people to let them know that I'm in a really crazy state of questioning the whole thing. They've assured me that they trust me, that they know that the experiences that we've had in our circle are real, and they're still excited to support me in this, but at the moment I'm pausing everything and reevaluating the future. So yeah, that's it. Thanks everyone.